Hey guys, here we are ready to pick up on chapter 17. It's called Cook, Cat, and Coffin. That's an interesting title. And if you look at that picture, somebody opening a coffin. All right. Well, I'm sure some of you have some ideas on that. I get the cook. It's probably Mrs. Griffin. The cat, probably one of the cats. And the coffin. Now, what's that about? If you remember at the end of last chapter, Wendell and Harvey had gone back into Holiday House. And as soon as they got there, Wendell started forgetting pretty much why they came. He was taken back in by all the allures of the house, the beautiful day, the smell of the food, the tree house. And it was just like the whole mission that he and Harvey quest, if you will. Remember, that's the word we use, the quest that they had come on. Wendell had already forgotten it. So it looks like it's going to be kind of up to Harvey on his own, because it doesn't sound like he's going to get much help from Wendell. He's already back to his who cares attitude. All right. So let's see what happens in this chapter. Oh, great to have you back, boy, Rictus said, his smile as wide as ever. Oh, yeah, that's the way the last chapter ended, was Rictus slammed the door. I told everyone you wouldn't be able to stay away. Nobody believed me. He's gone, they said. He's gone. But I knew better. He started to wander toward Harvey. I knew you wouldn't be satisfied with a little visit, not with so much fun still to be had. I'm hungry, Wendell whined. Help yourselves, Rictus grinned. Wendell was off at a sprint into the kitchen. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, he hollered. Look at all this food. Harvey didn't reply. Aren't you hungry? Rictus said, raising an eyebrow high above his spectacles. He cupped his hand behind his ear. That sounds like an empty belly to me. Where's Mrs. Griffin? Harvey said. Oh, she's around, Rictus said mischievously, but she's getting old. She takes to her bed a good deal these days, so we laid her down somewhere, safe and sound. As he spoke, there was a mewling sound from the living room, and there at the door stood Stew Cat. Rictus scowled. Get out of here, kitty, he spat. Can't you see we're having a conversation? But Stew Cat wasn't about to be intimidated. She sauntered over to Harvey, rubbing herself against his legs. What do you want? Harvey said, going down on his haunches to stroke her. She purred loudly. Hey, that's fine and dandy, Rictus said, putting off his anger in favor of a freshly polished smile. You like the cat likes you. Everybody's happy. I'm not happy, Harvey said. And why's that? I left all my presents here, and I don't know where. No problem, said Rictus. I'll find them for you. Would you do that? Harvey said. Sure, kid, said Rictus, persuaded that his charm was working again. That's what we're all here for, to give you whatever your heart desires. I think maybe I left him up in my bedroom, Harvey suggested. You know, I think I saw him up there, Rictus replied. You stay right here and I'll be back. So what's Harvey trying to do? Sounds like he's trying to sort of get rid of Rictus, get away from him for a minute, doesn't it? He took himself up the stairs 2 and 3 at a time, whistling tunelessly through his teeth as he ascended. Harvey waited until he disappeared from sight and then went to check on Wendell, letting Stew Cat slip away. Ah, now look at this, a voice said as he appeared at the kitchen door. It was Jive. He was standing at the stove, as sinewy as ever, juggling eggs with one hand and tossing pancakes in a pan with the other. What do you fancy, he said, sweet or savory? Nothing, said Harvey. It's all good, Wendell piped up. He was almost hidden behind a wall of filled plates. Try the apple turnovers, they're great. Harvey was sorely tempted. The buffet looked wonderfully tempting, but it was dust. He had to keep reminding himself that. Maybe later, he said, averting his eyes from the heaps of syrup-drenched waffles and bowls of ice cream. Where are you going? Jive wanted to know. Mr. Rictus is finding a few presents for me, Harvey said. Jive smiled with satisfaction. So, you're getting back into the swing of things, kiddo, he said. Good for you. Yeah, I've missed being here, Harvey replied. He didn't linger, just in case Jive saw the lie in his eyes, but turned and headed back into the hallway. Stew Cat was still there, staring at him. "What is it?" he said. The cat took off toward the stairs, then stopped and cast a backward glance. "You got something to show me?" Harvey whispered. At this, the cat bounded off again. Harvey followed, expecting her to lead the way upstairs. But before she reached the bottom step, she veered off to her left and led Harvey down a narrow passage to a door he had never noticed before. He rattled the handle, but the door was locked. Turning to look for Stew Cat, he found her rubbing her arched back against the leg of a small table set nearby. On the table was a carved wooden box, and in the box was a key. He went back to the door, unlocked it, and pulled it open. There was a flight of wooden steps in front of him, leading down into the darkness, from which a sour, dank smell rose. He might have declined to descend had Stew Cat not hurried on past him, down into the murk. Now, a minute ago, Rictus was ascending the stairs. Now Harvey's descending the stairs. So I bet you can guess what those two words mean using those clues. With his fingers trailing on the damp walls to the left and right of him, he followed Stew Cat to the bottom of the flight, counting the steps as he went. There were 52, and by the time he had descended them all, his eyes had become reasonably accustomed to the dark. The cellar was cavernous, but empty, except for a litter of rubble and a large wooden box which lay in the dust maybe a dozen yards from where he stood. Another good word, cavernous. What do you think that might mean? It means a big cellar. And 52 steps to get down? Wow, how deep does that go? "What is it?" he hissed to Stew Cat, knowing the creature had no way of replying, but hoping for some sign nevertheless. Stew Cat's only answer was to run across the floor and leap nimbly up onto the box, where it began to claw at the wood. Harvey's curiosity was stronger than his fear, but not so much stronger that he dashed to pull off the lid. He approached as though the box were some sleeping beast, which for all he knew it was. The closer he got, the more it resembled a crude coffin. But what kind of coffin was sealed with a padlock? Was this where Karna had been laid, perhaps after the beast had dragged its wounded body back home? Was it even now listening to Stew Cat scratch on the lid, waiting for release? As he came within a yard of the casket, however, he laid eyes on a clue to its contents. An apron string left hanging out of the box by whoever had locked it. Ooh, there's a clue, an apron string. What do you think? Who wears the apron? He knew of only one person in the house who wore an apron. "Mrs. Griffin," he whispered, digging his fingernails under the lid. "Mrs. Griffin, are you in there?" There was a muffled thump from inside. "I'm going to get you out," Harvey promised, hauling on the lid as hard as he could. He didn't have the strength to break the lock. In desperation, he began to search the cellar, looking for some tool or another, and found himself 2 sizable rocks. Hefting them, he returned to the casket. "This is going to be noisy," he warned Mrs. Griffin. Then, using one stone as a kind of a chisel and the other as a hammer, he assaulted the lock. Blue sparks flew as he struck at the metal, but he seemed to be making no impression until all of a sudden the lock gave a loud crack and fell to the ground. He paused for a moment, a feather of doubt brushing his brow. Suppose it was Karna's coffin. Then he threw the rock aside and hauled off the lid. Oh man, can you believe that's the end of the chapter? That was a short one. All right, so who do you think is going to be in there? Miss Griffin? Is it a trick? Okay. Next chapter is called The Bitter Truth. So it sounds like Harvey's going to find something truthful. All right. Finish up. Today is Wednesday. That means you will finish your 3rd reading response, and then you will share the document. Okay. Some of you have shared them on Monday and Tuesday. You didn't have to. The directions were to finish them each day and then share it on Wednesday. So we'll be looking for those today coming in, and be thinking about any questions you might have, predictions you might have, and we'll discuss it later. All right. Adios.